It is one last live Cowboys report before the 2024 season gets underway for the Cowboys. Week 1 against the Cleveland Browns this Sunday. I am Tom Downey, producer Stone Shields, behind the scenes on today's show. We will do no more Cowboys legend bits for the time being. We'll induct 2 more players in before the week ends, but it won't be part of our live show stuff there. Because we got games to talk about, thank God, finally. So what is the percent chance you think that the Dallas Cowboys actually pay Dak Prescott? We will spend a good portion of today's show on that because how can you not? You've got your big major deadline. I think like the practicality deadline, not like the actual final one coming up here with week 1. You're running out of time for that. Might be more likely now than it was a little bit ago, but that is where you're at. I see minus 100%, 10%, 100%. 0, 100, 0. We are all over the map there, aren't we, boys and girls? How about that? 90%, 65% chance. Said less than 50% the other day. 90%, 100%, 0%. Another 0 in there. So very different levels, which I get, actually. I think that is understandable and valid because on one hand, I think they are closer than ever. On the other hand, hey, almost out of time here. So, 150%, 60%, 85%, 75%, 5%. What's funny is if you take the average, it probably comes out to about 50%. It's probably about what it actually is. Just very different answers there. 50, 40, 60, 100.005. 69%. That is the correct answer, technically speaking. 100%, 10%, 40%, 65%, 7.38. Okay. 75% in there, 100% for the percent chance the Cowboys choose to pay Dak. Let's see. Or get a deal done. I should probably use that terminology more specifically there. It's comments coming. Percent chance the Cowboys pay Dak Prescott. Now, the first of 2 sponsors on today's show is Game Time. Download the Game Time app over at gametime.co. Use promo code CHATSPORTS and get 20% off your first purchase. Their new feature, Game Time Picks, makes tickets to your favorite teams play live even easier. Filters through the fluff to only show you the incredible deals on great seats. Terms apply, but again, create your account over at gametime.co. Use code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS for $20 off. And make sure you also download the Prize Picks app. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play 5. That's $50 instantly on America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Over 5 million active members when you play 5. You, by the way, don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. The Super Chat menu on today's show, $20 for the shot, $50 for a beer bong, $100 the bong, slap, and shot trio, $50 or $500, sorry, that's very different. Left off a 0 there. The custom Cowboys jersey, you choose the name and number, we'll rock it. I don't know if Anthony McMillan is going to arrive in time for week 1. We are days away now and it has not yet arrived yet, and I didn't order it, the bosses did, so I don't even know how the shipping status is there. So that is today's Super Chat menu, $20, 50, 100, and the 500. Let's talk confidence level in the Cowboys potentially beating the Cleveland Browns. That is our week 1 matchup after all. How confident are you in Dallas taking care of business in the first game of the season? 1 to 10 is your scale. I am not that high. I'm at, I guess, below 5 because I think Cowboys are more likely to lose that game. I don't like the matchup. I'd feel a lot better about it in week 5 than I would in week 1. I'd feel a lot better about it. I see 10, 7, 9, 10, 3, 10, 10, 4, 3, 9, 10, 10, 7.3, 8.5, 10, 7, 7.5. Watson will poop the bed. It's not a bad idea. That's not the most unlikely outcome. He's done that a lot. I kind of hope we get like week 1 last year to Deshaun Watson, where he had some of the ugliest decisions I've ever seen in my entire life. Like just like throwing it right to the defender. It was comical. 50%, 6.9. 6.9 is the only answer. Yeah. That is always the correct answer. 7, 5.5, 7.5, 7, 6.9 again. Let's see what else we got in here. Ooh. Oh, we got 7s in there. Toad French's comment. Watson's not going to have a happy ending. Get it? Because he did bad things. 10 from Mark in there as well. The pinned comments on today's live show is, will Dallas get a deal done with Dak? Y for yes, N for no. 72% voting yes. That means the rest, of course, voting no. Jacoby says no. Marble Sky says absolutely not. Andre says no. I feel better about it than I did, on last Monday's live show. Still not convinced it happens because it's the Cowboys. This is how they tend to operate business a little bit more frequently there. Mark says if it's just the years, yes. We will get to that. As we said on a previous show, the years stuff never passed the smell test. Somebody messed up in their reporting. Convinced of that one there. 8. Oh, that's from the previous one there. Yes is from Teddy Drake, Eddie, Daniel, Brian, Frederick. We'll see. Maybe it's a Saturday thing. And they take advantage of still getting all the attention. Because at this point, the market's not going to go up. It is what it is. Now, it goes up in free agency significantly, potentially. But we'll see what happens on that front. So, will Dallas get a deal done with Dak? Y for yes, N for no. The goal on every show, but especially live shows, is that 50% like ratio. We're at 66 likes. Can we get 3 more to be super nice? Not quite to the 50% ratio with 270 plus watching live right now. We did get a couple super chats, by the way. I don't know if the Object Powar one came in because that one was before we were live. So stay tuned for that one. I'll shout out Object Powar as you guys like the video. It came in before we went live, so it was being a little tricky to pull there. He says, let Dak deal. And Mike McCarthy should let Dak and CD pick up where they left off. No short stuff or Linehan play calling. Let Dak cook with Lamb. Enough said. That is by far your best path to having success as a passing offense and an offense overall is to let Dak throw to CD Lamb. Worked really well once they made their changes on offense last year, and it will work well for the regular season. I do think you need something else beyond just those two guys come playoff time on either side of the ball, frankly. But I do think that's a very good start for what they're trying to do and trying to organize there. The Super Chat's still not quite pulling the way they need to. Is there a network error at all, Stone? Okay. Do you want to do the other way to pull them? You know what I'm talking about? Like to change it from the stream link to the actual video URL. Do you know how to do that one? Yeah, try that. See if it works. Anyway, logical LB. Let's go ahead and push it across, and then you can try to do that stuff there. They will double team Land, or the rest of the offense won't achieve anything. Calling it now. Other teams tried to double him last year. It wasn't as effective. So I still think he's going to get his. But I do think this plays into something I kind of mentioned. You need something else. It can't just be Dak and Lamb. Now that's going to win you 8, 9, 10 games probably. As you can see behind the scenes stuff we're doing there. That can win you a bunch of games, but it's not going to be enough playoff time. So different bars, different expectations. Like I think Jake Ferguson can have a big game. Browns have some good secondary guys. Might make it a bit tricky. It's a good Browns defense, especially at home. Played really well at home last season. So I am by no means convinced that they're going to just have a great offense again, but they've been a top 5 offense 3 years in a row with Dak and Mike. Seems noteworthy. Maybe some more trust is worthy there. We'll get to Benzo's $10 super chat here as well. He says, which 3 positions are you least confident in? Thank you for everything you do for us fans. May God bless you and your family. I appreciate that, Benzo. It's very kind of you. Super chats being tricky and not quite pulling in the way I'd like them to, but I appreciate that. We'll see if they can get organized, and if not, we'll just do the live ones again. which is stupid. But, or was I think interior defensive line / edge depth, so like that front four, don't love it. Still got some concerns there, pretty significant concerns as far as I'm concerned, which sounds weird to say out loud. I think running back stands out to me, and I have some hope for that number 3 receiver spot, but I'm optimistic about, like, let me put it this way, the third spot, all the young guys are going to have to play. That's what stands out to me as something that I have concerns about. You're playing a lot of first-year players, and I'm hopeful that by week 18, we feel really good about those guys. They are also first-year players. They are rookies. There's going to be ups and downs and growing pains and learning adjustments and good games and bad games. So it's not how it works in football. You don't, in almost all cases, instantly get a top 10 player or even a top 20 player. It takes time. So I think there will be ups and downs. Hopefully not enough to cost the Cowboys a bunch of games, but I do think there will be ups and downs as the season kind of plays along and rolls along for Dallas. Want to do the live super chats here then, if it's not pulling? Zeno Sayin is next up here. We have to do the different graphics, which is what it is. It's just not quite working properly. Zeno says, McCarthy won a Super Bowl in his 5th year as head coach in Green Bay. He's entering his 5th year in Dallas. Can he do it again? God, I hope so. Would be nice. Pretty sure Mike got an extension in Green Bay before that 5th year, though. It's possible. I think I hope so is where we're at. Like I don't think it is the most likely outcome in terms of ranges of outcomes here. Let's go to Object Pawar's super chat. You can just show it. It's fine. It's fine if you see if the comments are scrolling. Fergie. Oh, look at that. Back to back. That's easy. Fergie, Cooks, and Turpin need to be more involved in the offense. McCarthy also tried to establish the run if they can't. Run game is suspect. Here's my issue. If your run game is suspect, which it is, we all have doubts about it. Do you want to try to establish it? At some point, you have to figure out what you truly have. I don't know if you want to really lean heavily on that ground game. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. You have to figure it out at some point. You have to have some semblance of balance. You cannot be a one-dimensional football team in the NFL. But I do think getting Fergie, Cooks, and Turpin involved are key parts. Tolbert, too. I am down to put Kevontae Turpin in the backfield. He can't be an actual every down running back, but if you want someone with some juice, try some tosses with Turpin. I think that makes it a little bit obvious what your plan is, but you can try it. Try some screen stuff with him. Be creative with how you get him the football. And also maybe try that with CeeDee Lamb, too. All right, coming up on today's live edition of the Cowboys Report, we'll talk the latest here on Dak Prescott, a Cowboys versus Browns preview. We'll go in-depth, some players to watch, key matchups as well. A mailbag, 2 ways to get on the show there. You can use hashtag Cowboys, get yourself in the queue, and Producer Stone to find your question, and then bring it up on screen. Or Super Chat, skip the line altogether. We will also break down one player who must step up against the Cleveland Browns. All coming up live here on the Cowboys Report. We'll be spending a lot of time on Dak Prescott on the entirety of today's show. What do you think is the % chance that Dallas gets a deal done with Dak Prescott before week 1? Sound off in the comments of today's show. Here's the latest on Dak Prescott. They are, as we all know, running out of time to get a deal done by week 1. And depending on which reporter you listen to, the Cowboys are either not closer or they actually are getting closer to finalizing a deal. Ian Rapoport says the Cowboys Dak are not closer. We'll get to his comments here in a second. Clarence Hill says, well, actually they are getting closer. First off, here's what Ian said. This was kind of more Wednesday afternoon. My understanding right now is the two sides are not close. The clock is ticking. Of course he's going to practice. He's going to play the season. There's no questions there. But if a deal doesn't get done by Saturday, you have to wonder, is a deal going to get done at all? The stakes are as high as it gets for the Dallas Cowboys. Clarence Hill, meanwhile, reporting this. There is an effort to get something done before Sunday's season opener against the Cleveland Browns. And per a source with direct knowledge of the negotiations, progress has been made during talks with Prescott and the Cowboys, and a deal is closer than it has been. What's also true, per the source, is the length of a deal is not a sticking point in negotiations, as has been reported. They are on the same page in terms of length. But the fact remains a deal has not yet been agreed upon. Of the two reports, I do think Clarence Hill is right. That length is the sticking point never made any sense. It's not a Cowboys do, because they love longer deals. I think there was maybe some more doubt and question marks about the guaranteed money, which I still think might be your main issue there. Somebody is obviously wrong on that, but years being the sticking point seemed highly unlikely. I think commitment was the main sticking point there. And we'll see if they get a deal done. I do think they're closer than what they were previously. Doesn't mean a deal gets done with the way the Cowboys have done business with Dak, not just this year or last year, but for almost the entirety of his career. So prediction time. It is the pinned comment, by the way, on today's video. Will Dallas get a deal done with Dak Prescott before week 1? Y for yes, N for no in the comment section of today's show. I think it is more likely to get done than what it was just a few days ago. And I feel it better, or maybe worse, but how you feel about it, better that it does end up getting done. But I have my doubts here. I think there has been progress between the two sides. Why you couldn't have had the progress months ago, that's what you're going to do? Whatever. That race done been run. I do think there are some interesting elements to glean from what Jerry Jones had to say on his interview with Stephen A. Smith. Jerry said this: "It is very important that we find a way to reconcile this with Dak. We've got to ask ourselves, can we have the kind of success that Dak deserves, we deserve, his teammates deserve, our fans deserve? Can we do that and get in the range to afford Dak? I think we can. When you look at what he brings to the table, as opposed to the alternative is not 1 year. It's a several-year alternative. So when you look at the prospects of him knocking on that Super Bowl door the next 5 years, I like those odds. And that, to me, is where you go, you pull the trigger on it." That is a change in tone from the last time we heard Jerry Jones speak about, he's like, there's no risk involved. We're not any urgency. That comes off as a little bit more urgency involved there. And a lot of people kind of latched on to the 5-year element. I do think that is noteworthy. I think people misinterpreted it. 5 years doesn't refer to the overall extension. I think it would be more likely to refer to the total contract. It'd be this year and a 4-year extension. That is how you get to that 5-year mark. Now, whether we like it or not, Jerry probably is right about the alternative, because they have already made mistakes that have put them where they are currently at. They had a chance to have a better alternative in 2025 had they done some different things. That is not the path they chose to go down. We'll go more in depth on this here in a moment. But first, today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time has a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks. Makes getting tickets to see your favorite team play live even easier. It filters out the fluff to only show you the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. All-in pricing. Toggle that feature. You can show your total cost up front, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. The Game Time guarantee means you will always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time's going to credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. The Cowboys have set themselves up in the position they are in, not just this year, but 4 or 5 years ago. And they're not in a good spot. And this is the bed that they made when it comes to paying Dak Prescott. Because if they want to win games over the next 2, 3, maybe even 4 years, there aren't any realistically better viable alternatives outside of we got incredibly lucky again and like highly unlikely outcomes. The odds, as Jerry said, very much in the favor there. They don't have what's happening this year. I think we all know what's going to happen, right? They're going to win 10 games, give or take. They'll maybe win one playoff game, pick in the 24s. They can either have a quarterback under contract or not, and have no real way of actually getting one beyond sacrificing a tremendous amount of their already on the roster talent or their future talent of trading draft picks away. Now, Dallas could have changed this. They could have ripped the Band-Aid off in March if they wanted to. They could have said, Dak, we love you. We want to win games. We are going to choose to rebuild, or even in February, frankly. And we're going to reset. We're going to bottom out this year, get our 2025 top 5 pick. And frankly, I'd have been fine with that choice. It was a plan. All I've asked for this entire offseason. Still don't have one from the Dallas Cowboys. But by not making a decision either way, which will come back to the other side of this too, which is why no matter what happens, the Cowboys didn't handle this right. In March, they have put themselves in a not very good spot. This is not a happy place to be if you are the Dallas Cowboys, because either you pay a bunch of money for a quarterback, which is how most teams do it, but he's got you bent over a barrel again, or you got the giant mystery box, and it's probably not going to be a boat. Probably going to be comedy tickets, which, hey, it's great for game time, but hoping for a boat, you kind of end up being disappointed. So what is the most that you would be comfortable paying Dak Prescott per year? Try not to always make it last year's money, but what is the most you'd pay Dak per year? Let me know in the comments right now. Whatever you want to pay Dak right now, whatever you end up, if you do get a deal done, paying Dak Prescott is cheaper than what it could be in 2025. That's why you constantly see these crazy figures of chaos in 2025 of 60, 65, 70. If they don't get it done, we're like 4 months away from 80. That's how it's going to work because it's media. Frankly, him signing at all is fairly team-friendly because he could just wait 4 months and get an actual mystery box of massive contract figures. I also want to put this in perspective. Back when Dak signed his 2021 extension for $40 million a year, at the time, that was roughly 22% of the salary cap. Now, you do it properly, you backload it, you worry about it later, you always push the big money off when you're being aggressive. That's how smart teams do it. So let's look then at what it is relative to the salary cap right now. You give him the same contract, it's like a 7% pay decrease. It's 15.67. You give him that same 22% contract, you're hovering in that $56 million per year range. The mythical 60 number, that's 23.5. So that's really not, that's 1.5% of a pay raise. The money is so much more, 40 to whatever, because the salary cap is more. Did you guys know that Justin Jefferson massive extension was actually the same contract percentage that Calvin Johnson was back when he signed all those years ago with the Detroit Lions? The sticker shock is totally real. But we're not actually talking about that much of a potential pay raise here, assuming you do it now. All bets off come March. But no matter what, the Cowboys made a mistake here. They did not handle the contract properly. Stephen Jones once said, he's also been very quiet. I haven't heard much from Stephen, very quiet lately. Seems noteworthy. Stephen Jones once said the Cowboys' biggest mistake was not paying Dak Prescott earlier. They made the exact same mistake again. I'll come back to that here in a second. But we are 853 subs away from 194,000 subscribers here on the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, hit that sub button. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. Depending on how it is structured, a Dak Prescott deal almost assuredly will free up salary cap space this year. And next year too, probably. And just like the CeeDee Lamb contract, you could have used that money to make your team better. If you were actually all in, you could have freed up, depending on how aggressive you wanted to be, $30 million in salary cap space just by paying those two guys. You missed the boat for that. Paying or not paying Dak, I don't think has any real impact on your 2024 outcomes. I don't. They missed that window. They failed to maximize this season. But it does impact 2025's outlook drastically. Think about it this way. If you're an NFL head coach, because do we think that we're going to see great success from the Cowboys? They built, I think, the third or fourth best team in the NFC. I think that's about as far as they go, depending on who they draw, because they might not even win the division. If you're Ben Johnson, the Lions' coveted offensive coordinator, do you want to go to a team that has Dak Prescott and the 24th overall pick, Dak under contract for 4 years, giving you job security, or do you want to go to Dallas where there's no quarterback in place and a team that hasn't seen really, really bad seasons in a long time? That job with Dak is very actually intriguing. It's actually a good core in Dallas. Without Dak, it's a little bit dicey. Either way, you have to change your approach next offseason. Regardless of what you do, you can't just run it back again. That's not going to work. We know it's not going to work, or at least we highly, highly think it's not going to work. So we will keep our eyes on that, but I have significant doubts that things will play out that way. So we'll see what happens, but you need to make a decision. Otherwise, other teams will make it for you. We got a $50 super chat from Jacko. Says, Parsons jersey XL, please. You got it, Jacko. Got you covered, my friend. We'll do. Oh, I need the beer bong. So we'll do the beer bong here. Appreciate that, Jacko. A $50 super chat. Cheers to you. We'll bust out the beer bong here. It is 50 for that. Someone said, is Buster an Eagles troll? I don't know who Buster is, probably. Eagles fans like to watch the show. I think it's weird. It's not how I would ever operate, but they like to watch the show. It's what they like to do for whatever reason. So $50 there from Jacko. Oh, that's right. I did clean the beer bong, so I got to reattach everything here. Stand by. Get this screwed on. Is that the right way? It's all the same. Appreciate that, Jacko. Send me the email, tom@chatsports.com, so we can get squared away from that perspective, and I can get it all sent out to you. All right, let's do this one here. Producer Stone stepping away to figure out what's wrong with the Super Chats, so stay tuned for that. All right, beer bong coming up for Jacko's 50-piece. Appreciate that, my friend. There we go. Gotta get in there and totally scrub this thing. All right, bottoms up. Here we go. Ooh, wrong way. Let me twist this for future notes. Ugh. All right, appreciate that, Jacko. The $50. Tastes funky. $50 super chat. Appreciate that, my friend. The pinned poll on today's show: will the Cowboys get a deal done with Dak Prescott? 71% say yes. 29% say no. Probably a little on the high side, I think. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't. I have doubts and question marks and concerns and all that, which is the way they choose to operate and do business. So I think that they are in a better spot than what they were previously. I also don't know if they're just going to get there. I don't think this has been the greatest negotiation. It wasn't great the first two times either, or the first time, I guess, either, which took several years. And I will say, if they don't get it done by Saturday, basically, I don't think things are looking good long term. Because at that point, you made him bet on himself again, or he chose to bet on himself, whichever angle you want to take there. The mystery box of free agency is actually very intriguing, because we haven't seen a player of Dak's caliber hit the open market. It hasn't happened at quarterback. It's happened at other spots occasionally. This is also the same team that let Amari Cooper hit free agents when they traded a first-round pick for him. It's like, it's possible. Because they also didn't, pay Dak the first time and had to use the franchise tag on him, which was part of the whole issue there. So I don't know what happens. There is a chance this is Dak's last season opener with the Dallas Cowboys. A chance it's not. It is unusual to be in this spot. Hasn't happened before. Might not ever happen again at the quarterback spot. If there is an ownership group, a front office group that's willing to gamble on having no QB or not paying the big QB money, see how that all plays out. Mistalk too much. I don't think next year's quarterback draft is great. That's the issue. Maybe Shedeur Sanders ends up being good. Maybe Carson Beck ends up being good. But those guys are probably going to go top 5, top 10, right? You're going to be in the 20s. The list of QBs that have been good from the 20s is not exactly a long list. And there are exceptions outside the top 10. Those guys do exist. But even the top 5 guys are gambles. You have one on your roster right now. Hasn't materialized the way that people had hoped for. So I don't know. Quinn, Beck, Sanders, Ward, and Moore will emerge. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. I think we're kind of hoping and praying and forcing a little bit on some of these guys. I hope that those guys end up materializing. But also, saw 5 QBs go, top 15 this past year? You still got to trade up and get one. How are you going to do that? We'll see. We'll see. We do have, I will shout out Zach Stores 99 super chat. He says it's coming soon. 5 years, $300 million, $180 million guaranteed. Actually not. Let me check where that is on the guaranteed side. That's $60 million per year. So that is Dak got what he wanted, basically. But the guarantees actually make that a little bit more intriguing. Let me see what the guaranteed figure checks in at there among QBs. It's actually not that bad from a guaranteed. That's actually low on the guaranteed. That's not even top 5 highest paid guarantees. That would actually be. Cowboys actually might like that, because that means you're getting that $60 million figure because you got $80 million or something guaranteed in the final year. That's not guaranteed. So again, this is today's super chat menu. $20 for a shot, $50 for a beer bong, $100 for the bong, slap, and shot trio, $500 custom Cowboys. Is everything okay there? What was the issue? Oh, so the super chats and stuff are going to be pulling? Okay. Sweet. There we go. We'll test it with Zach Store. Maybe. Or maybe not. This is today's super chat menu. $20 for a shot. $50 for the beer bong, which we just did from Jacko. $100 the bong, slap, and shot trio. $500 custom Cowboys jersey. We are giving Jacko the Micah Parsons one. So I'm looking forward to having Jacko get. He was awesome. He was awesome on today's show and on Monday's live show. 71% voting yes. 29% say no. I like logical LB's super chat. We'll get to here hopefully in a second as well. Let's ultimate test. Hey, they're polling. We fixed it. Good job, Stone. 1 year, $100 million, $99 million guaranteed if we win the Super Bowl. You guys thought Joe Flacco got paid a lot if he won the Super Bowl. Imagine what Dak would get. And the other angle you run into, let's say, I think it's highly unlikely, almost impossible. You don't pay Dak, you win the Super Bowl somehow this year. What's to stop Dak from going deuces and just leaving anyway? Saying, I won my Super Bowl for Dallas, I'm out of here. Like LeBron kind of, right? You don't have any team control. Zeno saying a $5 super chat. Cowboys fans don't want Dak to say because he hasn't won a Super Bowl. Who are the highest paid QBs? Most of them haven't won a Super Bowl either. As much as we want and need the playoff success, it's totally valid to want that. That is, you're right, Zeno. simply not how the rest of the NFL does its business. There's 2 active starting QBs that have a Super Bowl title, right? It's Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. You don't have Mahomes, so that makes part of this all complicated. Josh Allen doesn't have that much more actual playoffs. That's a little bit more. But you've got guys like Lamar Jackson's been worse in the postseason. Herbert is a non-factor. Jalen Hurts had the easiest path ever and then fumbled away a Super Bowl game. It's a valid point. Because if you're a team like the Giants or the Raiders or the Steelers, you pay that guy $75 million, whatever it is, probably not 75, but still, guess what? You just saved your job. That matters. Matthew Stafford's the other one with his team. And I think that's a good example there because what ends up happening is other teams view Dak as their Matthew Stafford. Wasn't working in Detroit. Maybe it wasn't the quarterback's fault. Ecuador, man, so by Sunday, no more Dak contract talk. Prayers up, yay. Yes. Which I actually genuinely am looking forward to. Part of me, and not all of me because I want to do what's best for the team, but part of me is like, hey, I don't want to deal with this and just be over it and pay him and they don't have to worry about it. Contract talk's done. Got 4 years, not having to worry about it. I don't like having spent 3-4 years now of this show on Dak expiring contract talk. It's not fun. It's not fun. One way or the other, hopefully it's finalized by Sunday. Chris B, why has Catboy been so quiet lately? I wonder if he got muzzled a little bit. It's pure speculation, but I do think it's kind of funny that Steven kind of stops talking publicly, and then you hear more from Jerry Jones, and then you see the deal get done with CeeDee Lamb. We haven't heard anything from Steven lately. I don't think that's a bad thing, but I do think that is at least worth acknowledging and mentioning. All right, let's get set up here for the second segment of today's show. We're going to preview Cowboys-Browns coming up Sunday afternoon. Who do you have winning this one? C for the Cowboys, B for the Browns. Sound off in the comments of today's show. Now, we're using the BetUS line to this, by the way. You can find the Cowboys as a bigger dog elsewhere. But regardless, the Cowboys are underdogs on the road against the Cleveland Browns in Week 1 of the 2024 NFL season. A matchup that might not be a strong one for the Cowboys, especially early on this season. This is the Cowboys injury report as of filming on Thursday, so stuff could change. Knock on wood, hopefully it does not. I do not anticipate John Stevens Jr. being able to go. He has missed Wednesday and Thursday's practices with a hamstring injury. I think he's going to be a scratch in Week 1. Everyone else seems to be in a decent spot with more minor injuries. Damone Clark, Israel Mukuamu, Marshawn Nealand, Mozzie Smith, Wanye Thomas. So, relatively speaking, obviously you're missing Sam Williams and DeRon Bland not on the actual active roster right now. Dallas in a pretty healthy spot when it comes to health. Over to Cleveland's injury news. They had David Bell on the list, and then they ended up waiving him on Thursday. Jedrick Wills, maybe let the cat on the bag on accident. He had been a limited participant early this week. Said he's not going to start against the Cowboys on Sunday in his left tackle spot. Now, the Browns have 2 options. Number 1, they keep Jack Conklin at right tackle and make James Hudson the starter at left tackle. I think that is unlikely because that's just probably not a good idea. Hudson's not very good. More likely, I suspect they're going to take Jack Conklin, put him over there at left tackle. He's done it a little bit previously. And DeJuan Jones, the mountain of a man out of Ohio State, subs in at right tackle. Some concerns there a little bit. But between Conklin and Jones, I think that's a fine offensive tackle group. Probably not a massive drop-off compared to Jedrick Wills. So, sounds like he's not going to go. Still is worth monitoring because players and coaches lie sometimes. So what is your confidence level in the Cowboys beating the Cleveland Browns? Scale it for me from 1 to 10 at the pinned comment of today's show. Honest answers here. Don't just drink the hopium or the Kool-Aid. Sound off 1 to 10 your confidence level in the Cowboys beating the Browns this Sunday. I want to run through some top matchups to watch, and we'll go over some players individually here as well. Number 1 for me, Myles Garrett against the offensive line. I don't love this for Dallas. Myles Garrett, if you want to rank him 1 or 2, you really can't go below 3 of the top pass rushers in football. Dude is a freaky human being. And you've got a rookie left tackle in Tyler Guyton, a rookie center in Cooper Beebe, and you also have a recovering bad season from Terrence Steele last year. Now, for the most part, you will see Guyton and Steele line up on the outside. Guyton, I thought, played very well in the preseason. I thought he handled himself pretty well in training camp. I do think we have to acknowledge across board this Cowboys roster, banking on rookies playing big roles, although it's good you have talented first-year players, there will be ups and downs. I would be thrilled and frankly shocked if the Cowboys get a flawless game out of Tyler Guyton. I also don't anticipate Myles Garrett only lining up against Guyton. Why wouldn't you put him up against Terrence Steele's son? He was good in 2022. He was actually really good before the torn ACL. He came back kind of impressively quickly, and frankly wasn't as good in 20. In fact, he was outright bad in 2023. He got beat a ton. That's, honestly, when you're allowing 12 hits and 34 hurries and only 8 sacks, normally means your quarterback made some good stuff happen to avoid going down right there. His run blocking was also worse. We'll come back to that here in a little bit. I also, if I'm the Browns, the first time I get the Cowboys in a 3rd and long, I'm doing this. I'm putting Myles Garrett right there, standing up over the center. Okay, Kubi, let's see what you can do, buddy. Because you do that front, guess what the rules are with that front for an offensive line? You got Myles Garrett probably one-on-one. Now, you could try to have the running back take on a defensive end and shift over. That's a bad idea. Those rules for offensive line, that's why you do that stuff. You move guys around. Dallas did the exact same thing with Micah Parsons. That's not a fun place to be if you're the Cowboys offense. Number 2 matchup. How do the Cowboys run defense fare against the Browns? I would anticipate the Browns trying to run the football to make life easier on a not-so-good quarterback right now in Deshaun Watson. There will be no Nick Chubb in this football game. Last year, Jerome Ford, Deonta Foreman, pretty similar efficiency numbers with the Browns for Foreman and for the Bears with Foreman and for the Browns with Jerome Ford. They missed Nick Chubb. They were also pretty banged up on the offensive line at various points last year. I think their ground game will be better than what it was this past season. We've spent time on the interior of the defensive line. I need my linebackers to play better too. I need Eric Kendricks, DeMarvion Overshown. I think we'll see Maurice Leafau too. Damone Clark being in the right spot at the right time and making plays. Otherwise, it wasn't just the defensive line last year that was bad. The linebackers weren't great either. Now, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, over 5 million active members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. This season for September, 1 Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week. It's a no-brainer. I am not going to do nearly as many flex plays as I have early on this season because I'm going to take advantage of my freebie. And I'll do stuff like CeeDee Lamb more than 87.5 receiving yards. Dak Prescott more than 253.5 passing yards. I'll be a bit more aggressive with the Caleb Williams freebie, and you can too. Download the Prize Picks app today over at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play 5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to get that $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. Number 3, how does the Cowboys run offense fare against the Cleveland Browns? against a team that has playoff aspirations, I have question marks about just how impactful and how much they're going to try to run the football. This is not a great running back room. We can acknowledge that as the reality. Ezekiel Elliott, Rico Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn, Hunter Lipke. I doubt they call up Dalvin Cook. We'll see if they look dumb or not. These are things that are, I think, very clearly worth monitoring. Now, the Browns' run defense was kind of an interesting mixed bag last year. They were 11th in rushing yards allowed per game, 19th in allowed per play, so some better efficiency metrics. They also led the NFL in stuff percentage. These are all next-gen stats, by the way, which means they got you in the backfield for a loss or no gain more than any team in the NFL. They were third in expected points added per rush because they had so many negative plays they created as a run defense. They were sixth best in yards per contact, but if you were able to make guys miss, you were 32nd in yards after contact. Number 4, Mike Zimmer versus Kevin Stefanski. This kind of ties into run defense and pass defense. I think Stefanski's one of the better offensive-minded head coaches in the game. He's not Andy Reid, but he's good. He's found ways to maximize a team that probably shouldn't have been a playoff team a couple years in a row. I want to see how he tries to take advantage of Mike Zimmer and vice versa. Double A gap stuff. I think when you pressure Deshaun Watson, bad things happen, and good things happen for the opposing defenses. The reality of Deshaun Watson, he hasn't been good at football for 3 years. He wasn't good last year. He wasn't good in 2022, and he missed a ton of time in 2021 and didn't play a single game. He hasn't been good in a long time. Make him be bad again. Now, overall for the course of this season, will the Cowboys defense be better under Mike Zimmer? B for you think that they'll be better. W for you're not buying this will be worse. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Number 5, this is just me being a nerd here. Bubba Ventrone versus Bones Fossil. Those are the special teams coordinators for both teams, the Browns and Cowboys respectively. I don't think we've seen what teams are actually going to do on returns. I think they've kind of hidden stuff so far. I want to see how it plays out this season. Number 5, player to watch. We'll go 5-1 here. Cooper Beebe. We kind of mentioned this earlier with the Myles Garrett stuff. I am excited about Cooper Beebe. I am also forcing myself to temper expectations. This is a first-year player. This is a rookie center. Now, having a veteran quarterback does make life easier on a young center with what's being asked of them. It's still a lot. And the Browns can move guys around. They can do some fun stuff on defense. It's going to be a challenge for Beebe. It absolutely will be. I want you guys to predict the score of the Cowboys against the Browns for me on today's video. Drop that score prediction for me in the comments right now. Number 4, Osa Odighizuwa. Which Osa shows up? I think with the way this defensive tackle room is constructed, they're going to need him. Look at his stats. The first half of seasons, he's played 24 games here, by the way. 64 tackles, 7 sacks, 14 TFLs, 22 quarterback hits. Okay. Looks pretty good there, boys. The second half, fewer tackles, 5 fewer sacks despite having 2 more games, 5 fewer TFLs, and 9 fewer quarterback hits. Early season Osa's a fringe Pro Bowl player. End of season Osa, he's cooled off for whatever reason several years in a row. See what happens this year. Number 3, Micah Parsons. It is week 1. I'm going to preface this by saying we're doing a lot of the big names here because it is the first game of the season. We won't do that every week, I promise you guys. But Micah Parsons a freak, man. Things he does, wildly impressive. He has put up 13 sacks 3 straight years. I think there's one other passer who's done it. I think it's Myles Garrett, I think. And I'm pretty sure that's who it is. He will move around more. He will not just be stuck at left defensive end or whatever. They will put him, like we saw with that photo of Myles Garrett, over the center. He'll be lined up as an off-ball linebacker in blitzing. I don't care that much about where Micah physically lines up, whether it's like a wide 9, stand-up, 3-4 edge rusher, 4-3 defensive end, overload is almost like a 5 technique, stand-up inside linebacker. As long as he predominantly is moving forward, That will get the most out of him. Number 2, CeeDee Lamb. I'm picking the big names. You guys know who number 1 is going to be in a second. But show up, man. Got paid. Deserved every penny of it, by the way. Keep having big-time games. I don't know if he's going to do what he's done the last 3 years of his career and be better than he was last season, but he going to get fed. He should once again look like a top 5 consensus wide receiver, and I do think we'll get that immediately for this upcoming year. Now remember, folks, we will be live for Cowboys against the Browns. Our live show will start at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. Number 1 is Dak Prescott, the quarterback. Right? I think the biggest reason why there's hope about being able to beat the Browns is the gap between Deshaun Watson and Dak Prescott. I actually think the Browns have a better roster, and they're better coached. But Cowboys have the second team All-Pro, the runner-up MVP. You need good Dak Prescott to win this game. You can't have the slow starts. Easier to come back and win in the regular season than it is playoffs because the teams are not as good, obviously. But you need Dak to play well. Because if you win this game, it's probably going to be because of Dak Prescott. All right, mailbag time. We'll go to this one pretty quickly. Everything good on the comments end? Everything polling there? Okay. Get your questions in. Hashtag Cowboys or Super Chat to skip that line altogether. There should be some hashtag Cowboys that are in there already. By the way, the hashtag Cowboys part gets you in the queue for Producer Stone to find your question, then bring it up on screen. The Super Chat's how you skip the line altogether. I believe the last one we had was Marcus Arnold was the first quote-unquote one that we should be getting to next year. So get your questions in via hashtag Cowboys, or you can skip the line altogether and Super Chat like Marcus Arnold, The Lunatic, Ecuador Man, Logical, etc. all did previously. Let's go to Marcus's Super Chat here off the front. Then we will also go to the social plans. Or, the super thanks, excuse me. We'll start it here. We'll go to this, then we'll go to the super thanks. Thank you. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about there. We'll do that here to begin today's mailbag. From Marcus Arnold, a $5 super chat to get things going. He says 10 years, $610 million, $450 million guaranteed. We need to quit playing around and end this issue for the next 8 years. I don't think you have to do that much to get the Dak deal done. That seems like a lot of money and a lot of commitments that I think Dak would be all for. I don't know if you'd get the front office, and I don't think you'd even get me to sign off on that one. Zeno saying a super thanks. Because I remind you guys, these questions came in as part of our Thursday live show. So this may or may not be accurate at all. We might know the answer on Dak by the time this mailbag goes out on Saturday. I really believe Dak is gone for the season. He won MVP in the Super Bowl. I just don't see Jerry Jones paying the money. Waiting this long, you're either for Dak or not. Jerry Jones handled it all wrong. I don't want to go back to the Quincy Carter and Stephen McGee days. I get where you're coming from. I don't want to go back there either. That was not fun. You are more likely to find a Stephen McGee than you are a Dak Prescott, since you tried to draft Paxton Lynch and Connor Cook first. And you got lucky, and you might not be able to get lucky a third time in a row. So these super thanks, super chats, we appreciate them all so much, folks. When they come in, we will get you up on screen, give you guys a shout out, even if sometimes they end up being outdated. Happens. That's part of the nature of sports media. Get your super thanks in, edit your message with the little heart, $sign icon, edit whatever you want to send in. Even if it is Tom, you suck, we will give you a shout out on the show. The Lunatic, Clarence Hill said Diggs may travel with Coop. Thoughts? When they're in man, I really wouldn't be that surprised if they chose to do that. But when they're in zone, I kind of doubt it, because then you just put them in motion and, okay, well, now what are you going to do? So I don't know what the real zone-man ratio is going to end up looking like this year for the Cowboys. Probably they'll be able to do some more like matching stuff, which I actually think is very valuable to do here. But I think when they are in actual man coverage, I would assume Diggs is on Amari Cooper. I think that just makes sense for Dallas. I don't want to put Kalen Carson on Amari Cooper 8 times. That seems like a bad idea. Ecuador man AOG, not playing the Giants. Cowboys always lose game 1. A lot of that has happened, yes. I'm also glad you're not playing the Giants. I'm tired of Week 1 Giants games. That's you got to mix it up a little bit more frequently there. So, Ecuador man, Browns are favored for a reason. And I don't think you'd be crazy to say the Browns end up winning this game. All right, from Taylor Slow, will Guyton and Cooper Beebe make the ground game better this year? Maybe. I also don't think it's going to be a instantaneous thing. I think it's going to take time. I think there'll be games it looks better, and then probably a game where they struggle a little bit. Progression isn't always linear. You have ups and downs, right? It's not a straight direct line. It's that up and down wavy line that hopefully goes up by the end of the year. So I think they can make the offensive line better, the ground game better. There is risk involved with that. We do have to acknowledge that. Thank you, Taylor. What is your confidence level in the Cowboys offensive line? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. It's 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. What is your confidence level right now in this Dallas Cowboys offensive line? Brian Perry, will the Cowboys use Cooks? I think so. I'd be a little surprised if they didn't use him and didn't get him more involved. I think more of what you saw down the stretch last season as opposed to the early games where he just kind of wasn't really being involved. And I think that's more along the lines of what to expect. Logical LB, this one's a little bit mean. Did Mozzie put on weights, or did McCarthy and Mike Zimmer eat all his food? Mozzie is back up adding weights. I think that's still going to be an overall work in progress because he's coming back from the rehab and everything. Like, that's how it's going to be. I just want to see Mozzie Smith be better this year. That's all I'm asking for. Be a better player than what he was last season. Look like a real NFL rotation piece. And we'll be back on the upward direction there. From Zeno, can't the Cowboys just use Ezekiel Elliott how the Steelers used Jerome Bettis at the end of his career? Zeke still has the strength to push through. Look, if you're giving Ezekiel Elliott 110 carries and he has 338 yards, that's probably bad. Let's tie these two in. This is good. Let's tie these two in. Because Cooper Amari, that's what you did there. What is a good year for Zeke? I don't think we should necessarily get caught up on just the average yards per carry. Because if they do deploy him in a bust type of way where, hey, he's going to get short yardage stuff only, there's a scenario where, he got 3.5 yards per carry, but if his success rate was, above 40%, okay, that's probably fine. Now, if he's getting, 246 carries and he's not to 900 yards, that's bad. So how he gets deployed has a direct correlation on if it's a good year or not for Ezekiel Elliott. So I will pay a lot more attention to Zeke specifically with stuff like success rate, factoring in the context of the play, the down and distance stuff, than I will, other backs who are going to be more involved trying to get explosive plays. If you're trying to get Zeke explosive plays, it's probably bad. But if you're just trying to get short yardage stuff, I think it'd still be effective there. It comes down to what's asked of him. We'll see how that plays out. How many touchdowns this year for Ezekiel Elliott in 2024? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Casper B, what's one game you think can be a trap game, sort of like the Cardinals game last year? I would be a little bit worried that ends up being the Saints game this year. Normally it's early on in the campaign. I hope it's not the Giants. I'd be really upset by that because I want to keep beating the shit out of Marshall and the Giants there. So maybe it's Commanders at some point. Falcons, Panthers, Bucks. Depending on how good those teams end up being, could certainly fit that mold. There will be a game you win or that you're not supposed to, and there will be a game you lose that you were not supposed to. That's how football works. Just remember not to get too tilted one way or the other. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time is the place for last-minute tickets to your next big event, in parts, but not exclusively, because of their new feature. It's called Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Download the Game Time app today over at gametime.co. Once you do that, go to the profile section, bottom right, you'll see a redeem code option. Once you get there, plug in CHATSPORTS, that's Chat Sports, as the code for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, create your account and redeem code CHATSPORTS, Chat Sports, for $20 off. What time is it? It's game time. Download the app today. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. It's gametime.co, promo code ChatSports. From Tyler, not a Dallas question, but I think it's going to be the next big trade. We've seen some in the past, like CMC to San Francisco, Adams to Las Vegas, Goff for Stafford. It's a good question. I think the Niners are going to do something in the wide receiver room next year. They kind of have to. Something has to change. They've got too many guys, too many bodies. I think the Raiders have a tough decision to make with Devontae Adams soon. He's not going to be back at his current contract next year. It's either going to be an extension or a release, so I'd monitor one of those guys, frankly. From Win Dallas, accurate. Will Micah Parsons finally lead the NFL in sacks? Sure would be nice. It's a good thing if that happens, by the way. Means that they are winning games because he has chances to get good pass rush chances, and he's making plays. He will at some point. Maybe this is the year. Maybe the deployment from Mike Zimmer will maximize him even more than what Dan Quinn was doing. So how many sacks this season for Micah Parsons? Can he get above that 14 mark or even higher? Drop that prediction for me in the comments section of today's show. Tyler Madden, whatever happens this year, just beat the Eagles. Actually, no. I will lose both games to the Eagles if I have playoff success. I don't care. To an extent, I care about the regular season. I'm going to try to enjoy the ride, knowing that this is probably going to end the way we think it's going to end in the end. That's why the optimism is so low among this fan base, which I get. If you tell me I lose both games against Philadelphia, yet I'm playing in the NFC Championship game, I don't care. I'm happy. That's what I want to have. Whatever. Make the playoffs and then do something. That's the goal for this team, and I think we all know it too. Now, if you want to be a part of these mailbags, then you have to subscribe. It's the only way to make it happen. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button, youtube.com/CowboysTV. From Zach Store 99, it's coming soon. Dak, 5 years, $300 million, $180 guaranteed. We'll see how it plays out, Zach Store. Again, we're filming this on our Thursday live show. Maybe we know, maybe we don't by the time this mailbag ends up going out. But I would like to have a decision. I also would have liked to have one months ago. Now we get to wait and see what actually ends up happening. All right, the Super Chat menu, one more time. $20 for a shot, $50 for the beer bong, $100 the bong, slap, and shot combo, $500 a custom Cowboys jersey. Don't worry, we already got the request in there from Jacko. We'll take care of you, my friend. That is the Super Chat. Man, we'll have some fun stuff, by the way, coming up during our watch party for you guys on Sunday. This is your last chance to predict the Cowboys' record this season. Let me know in the comments section of today's video what you think the Cowboys' record will end up being. We'll get to Ecuador Man AOG's Super Chat here in a minute. What do you think that Cowboys' record ends up being this upcoming season? I got Super Chats from Jeff Watson, too, so hit them all. Hit them all here as they come in from Ecuador Man and from Jeff Watson. I see 12-5, 12-5, 13-4, 11-3. That's not how math works. Where are the other games in there? 11-3. Doesn't make any sense. 13-4, 12-5. 12-5, 14-3, 7-9. Oof, that'd be rough. 10-7, 11-7. I think you just meant 10 wins there for Mari. 10-7, 9-8, 11-6, 11-6, 10-7, 11-5. Super Bowl, that'd be nice, but I have my doubts on that front. I got to see it. Not going to be, it's our year guy, because it hasn't been in a very long time. You won't hear me say it. Ecuador man says, $300 million, are you guys insane? If you do 5 years, it's at the maximum of that, it's at the higher end of that $60 million contract, but the guaranteed money was lower. Kind of have an out that you don't have right now. Maybe that would make you feel better. But it's sticker shock money. I get it. Only about 1% more, 2% more than what it was last time he got paid, by the way. Let's go to Jeff Watson's here as well. If the Cowboys lose in the playoffs, they need to get rid of Rowdy. They need to get rid of Rowdy anyway. Death to Rowdy, as far as I'm concerned. String him up, drag him through the streets of Dallas and Arlington and Frisco. We'll do one giant loop all the way around. Get rid of him. Rowdy is a curse and a plague upon our houses. There's been basically zero playoff success since Rowdy got involved. He is a curse. I would very much like to be rid of Rowdy. So that is something that I would love to see happen. I think it is a fantastic suggestion, Jeff Watson. Coming up on today's show, I want to look at one player. Out of all the different guys, there's a lot of players who have to step up, but one player in particular that I think needs to step up in a way they have not done before if the Cowboys are going to have success and beat the Cleveland Browns in Week 1. Now, I am open to doing a video like this each and every single week, going more in depth on one player, if that is something you want. If it is something you want, then show it by liking today's video for me right now. My choice among a lot of different options, especially several on the offensive line, is cornerback Kalen Carson. Now, Carson did pop up on the Thursday injury report with an apparent knee injury. Now, he was still a full participant, which means he didn't leave practice or anything, so I'm not going to panic on that as we sit here filming this on our Thursday live show. But the Cowboys need him. With Deron Bland out for at least 4 weeks, the Cowboys are putting a tremendous amount of pressure on their 5th-round pick at corner. Trayvon Diggs is obviously going to be one starter. Jordan Lewis will be in line there as the starter at the nickel position. That number 2 corner cannot be Deron Bland. It has to be Kalen Carson. The Cowboys have made him the starter. Andrew Booth, I don't know if he's even going to be active. With the numbers game you have going on in terms of the active roster and the construction and all those things. For a 5th-round pick, and which I do think we have to consider is a factor in this next question, the expectations are very high. And the need of impact is also quite high. So I want you to be honest with me when it comes to this next question. What is your true confidence level in Kalen Carson? If it's low, go with 1 or a lower number. If it's high, go with 10 or a high number. It will be the pinned comment on today's video. If that ad happens to come here on YouTube, that is just fine. Ignore it. No one really cares. Head down there and let me know your confidence level in Kalen Carson. Scale it 1 to 10. I do think that all answers here are valid. I put myself more in the cautious optimism bucket for a couple reasons we will get into here. But that doesn't mean there aren't reasons to have doubts and concerns. The simplest of which, the biggest of which, the obvious of which is this. He's a 5th-round rookie. You're putting him out there Week 1 as a starter. That's unusual. That's a high bar to go from, hey, he was a 5th-round pick out of Wake Forest to, all right, he's going to be our starter. We're going to plug him in there and expect a big impact. And he's not going to be a big drop-off from a guy that led the NFL in pick sixes ever, doing it last season. It's a big bar to clear. And the expectations should be lower as a result, but you still need to not be bad. You have to be, right? Carson, I thought, was solid-ish at Wake Forest. I think that there were times he had some rough games, had some really good games too. We will come back to some of the positives on Kalen Carson, don't worry. But I do want to kind of lay out the concerns too. One of which is, this is not an easy matchup. It's not like it's the Giants and, okay, it's Malik Neighbors on Trayvon Diggs, it's fine. There's no one else out there that's good at receiver. The Browns have playmakers. And I would assume the Cowboys do their damnedest to not have Amari Cooper line up against Kalen Carson. If I'm the Browns, I'm doing my damnedest to make that happen, though. Trying to. I think you'll see Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore split some time in the slot. Jeudy probably plays there a little bit more. So I think that there's a reasonable outcome that Elijah Moore can be limited by Kalen Carson. Maybe we see some of Sitter Tillman too. But Jerry Jeudy has talent. We'll see if it ever gets maximized. Elijah Moore, second-round pick. There are playmakers for the Browns. This is not like you're playing against that Virginia Tech passing offense, that Clemson passing offense that neither of them looked that great back in week 1 of college football. But like NFL players, it's going to be harder now that you're here. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It's America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, over 5 million active members. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and then watch your winnings roll in. It truly is that simple. Download the Prize Picks app if you haven't already. You can take one of my picks this week. They are giving you a freebie every week. Caleb Williams, 1 passing yard gets you the automatic win. Still got to pick at least 1 more or 2 more. I'm not doing flex plays. I'm doing power plays. These are too easy. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play 5. That's code CLNS over at Prize Picks to get $50 instantly once you play 5. You don't even need to win to get that $50 bonus. It is guaranteed, and it's Prize Picks. Run your game. Link and promo code will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Next reason for concern, it was by no means a perfect preseason for Carson. Now, I do think we should always contextualize stats. And you can see he was targeted 5 times. He allowed 5 completions. That's bad. It's not ideal. Don't get me wrong. It's not perfect. But 1 first down allowed. That's actually good. You can allow catches. If it's 3rd and 7 and you allow a 5 or 6 yard gain, that you did your job. So catches in and of themselves, they're normally not great, but there are times where you actually did your job and you didn't get beat, quote unquote. Like it goes in the marks against you, but I would rather a receiver go 5 of 5 or a corner go 5 of 5 with 1 or 2 first downs than 4 of 10. Only 40%. Yeah, but all 4 went for first downs and big chunk plays, and you missed tackles. I think that's a negative, but there is a positive angle to it there for Kalen Carson. Now, we will be live for the Cowboys-Browns matchup. Live show starts at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out, and make sure you guys tune in. Let's talk positive reasons for optimism here. Kalen Carson impressed in training camp. He pushed Deshaun right out that door. He earned that number 3 corner job. Now he's being, on the outside, now he's being pressed into cornerback 2 duties. And yes, Kalen Carson is just a 5th round pick. He should have been drafted sooner. He should have been. I didn't think I was actually that high on Kalen Carson. I was very surprised with where he went. Here's where I had him graded. I had him 137 overall, that 4th, 5th round cheater grade, my 19th overall corner. He went a full round later than where I had him graded, the back end of round 5/round 6. The Cowboys allegedly had a 3rd round grade on him. You probably feel better if it's 3rd round pick, Kalen Carson, right? Also can be a bit deceptive because the Cowboys always seem to draft guys around later than what they had him graded, right? They do, however, have a pretty damn strong day 3 defensive back track record. They have found players who are good at safety and at corner. Obviously, DeRon Bland stands out as one. Anthony Brown was actually a good player for several years. He was not as good as Cowboys fans would have liked him to have been. He was a starting caliber corner. You found Donovan Wilson. You could maybe put J.J. Wilcox if you want. Maybe not. Michael Jackson's still hanging around this league too. I do trust the Cowboys when it comes to draft picks, and it seems like that 2023 outlier campaign is not what they have in this 2024 draft class. So prediction time. Will Kalen Carson be a reliable starter? Y for yes, N for no. Sound off in the comments section of today's show. The final reason, you do have a good supporting cast around him. Not just your pass rushers, and not just the fact that Deshaun Watson does some stupid stuff sometime and doesn't look like a good NFL QB, but you're not asking Kalen Carson to be the guy in the secondary. Frankly, you're asking him to be your fifth best defensive back. Still starter, but that's what you're asking. You have Trayvon Diggs back. You have Jordan Lewis, who had a really good training camp himself, by the way. You have options at safety, Malik Hooker, Donovan Wilson. If Mike Zimmer's doing his job, he'll probably find a way to hide Kalen Carson to an extent. This is not, I would assume and hope, a situation where you're playing cover zero the entire time, Brian Flores style, and saying, all right, go match up man-to-man on Amari Cooper. Have fun, buddy. See ya. That's a bad idea. I don't think Mike Zimmer's going to do that. I don't think that's Zim's style. I don't think that's what he wants to do, nor should he do it. So you don't have to have Kalen Carson instantly be a superstar caliber player. But week one as a fifth-round pick, you do need him to be a good player. That is still a high bar, and he is going to have to step up. See how things play up. All right, pin comment time. Will the Dallas Cowboys get a deal done with Dak Prescott? Y for yes and for no, 69% voting yes. That is a lower number than 72%, but I actually feel better about it. Get your votes in. Y for yes and for no. One final question. Will the Cowboys, or it's not one final question, one final thought. We will be live for Cowboys against the Browns. Our live show starts at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, so do not miss out. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/CowboysTV.